They're a franchise that I've done nothing but cast aspersions on pretty much most of my life. I've spent most of my adult life making fun of the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were really good and they were fun to root for when I was a kid, back when they had like John Henderson and Marcus Stroud. Just a hard-hitting, really aggressive defense. I just realized how much there is to punch down on when it comes to this team. I mean, they exist in a place where people care more about NCAA football than the NFL, and that guy's mustache is awful. You need to get him a top hat. You should be running a circus, not a football team. Welcome, everybody, to a wild card edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I'm your host, Bill, season ticket holder Drew Gear. That's my producer, Chris Kruger. And Chris, obviously, it's the Jaguars. Like when we remember a few weeks ago when we talked about this, and I was like, "Uh-oh, the Jaguars look like they're peaking. Who's the team I don't want to play right now?" I was like, "Oh, there we go. Here it comes."
No, you said a couple weeks ago you'd rather play Jacksonville than Pittsburgh or Baltimore.
For sure, that. I think having played both of them, I think the Patriots learned this the hard way. It's really hard to beat a team twice in the same season. Right? Like,
no, the actual phrase is it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season.
Well, I think it's hard to beat them twice, and that's why you see so many splits.
I think it's the divisional matchup in the playoffs. That's the third one, divisional. That's the one for me.
See, I disagree, because I see it like this. The Buffalo Bills, you play the Miami Dolphins, and you beat them in the regular season, and then you beat them in the playoffs. The New England Patriots, you split with them in the regular season, and then you dominate them in the playoffs. I think you see more splits around the NFL than you do sweeps, but that's why sweeping your division or doing well in your division, out of the, 6 games you're going to play every year, if you're winning 5 of them consistently, that means you're dominating, because you're not supposed to be able to beat those teams twice over and over again. I think that, kind of how we caught up with New England there in the second half there. I think that it would be very difficult to play either of the Ravens or the Pittsburgh Steelers, having played them in games that were tight, right?
Mm-hmm.
They went our way. The Pittsburgh game didn't start out well, but we figured it out. So I guess if there's a silver lining, it's that we're playing somebody we haven't played, but of course, it's the Jaguars. They're a franchise that I've done nothing but cast aspersions on pretty much most of my life. But can you blame me? Like, we joke about how we're the pettiest Bills podcast. I'm a prolific hater. And what I can tell you is I've spent most of my adult life making fun of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, they had their moments. They were really good, and they were fun to root for when I was a kid, back when they had like John Henderson and Marcus Stroud. Former Buffalo Bill, Marcus Stroud, a defensive tackle. Just a hard-hitting, really aggressive defense. They're also the defense that ended Jim Kelly's career. So I'll see all of them in hell. We were actually just looking at the stats from that game. What did Natron Means have in that playoff game?
31 carries, 175 yards, and a touchdown.
Damn it. Can you imagine being an adult for that now?
I mean, I don't know how we haven't gone. We're only a few minutes in, but how do you not mention today, 13 years ago today, Drew Gear, pro Doug Marrone guy. We hired Doug Marrone 13 years ago today.
See, it's funny how we get the rap for being I think you put it on Facebook, or did you tweet it out?
I did a screenshot from Facebook because it was it was great. It was my memories where you were like, Doug Marrone changed culture. I'm pro Marrone. And then right underneath that was me, where I'm like, this guy will be fired in 3 years.
Awesome.
We only made it 2.
Hey, he did have a 9-win season. For us at the time, that was...
Yeah. And he thought he could catapult that into something. He was
Saint Marrone. He was Saint Marrone. Saint Doug. What an idiot. Yeah, no, so you just think about the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. And, as I'm trying to put together my notes for the show and I'm thinking about this game, I just realize how much there is to punch down on when it comes to this team. I mean, they exist in a place where people care more about NCAA football than the NFL, as evidenced by years of them having to tarp off seats in their stadium to avoid blackouts back when that was a thing.
That's where they do the cocktail party, too.
Yep. Over the last 10 years, they've gone 55-109. And you'd think that for a team with that many losing seasons, they'd somehow have managed to draft their way out of that hole. They've managed to, like, over the course of a 10-year window, they managed to take 9 top 10 picks and wasted most of them. Blake Bortles, Leonard Fournette at running back, who aged like milk.
Well, you were pro Bortles because you thought Bortles and Nate Hackett were going to lead him past Brady and Belichick.
I did. Because they almost did it.
You are dumb. And a drunk.
C.J. Henderson, they traded away, right? Now he's a Cleveland Brown. Linebacker Dante Fowler, who never got a contract extension. I think they took him number 3 overall. From 2017 to 2020, they only drafted one player in the top 90 of any of their classes who's still on the roster. That's their Josh Allen. Their owner is the reason that we all have to get up at like 6:30 in the morning some Sundays to go watch our team play in like Tottenham Hotspur. Or what are some of the other places that they've done it over there? Wembley.
They do it in London, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But that's really the reason they've expanded out that international footprint to Spain, Brazil, Germany.
Yeah, so now I got to get up early to go watch football. This is stupid. Thanks, Jacksonville. And that guy's mustache is awful. Like, we make fun of Nate Geary for having a bad one, but good Lord, is Shad Khan. Like, he's... You need to get him a top hat. You should be running a circus, not a football team. Although, taking a look at that record over the last... you could say he already is overseeing a circus. Their quarterback picks his nose on national TV. They have teal in their uniforms. It's like, there's just so much that you can keep deriding about this team. And yet it's us who's traveling to them. So I guess I should probably tone it down a bit, eh? So with that, our wild card preview, the Buffalo Bills at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Time, Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. Chris, do we have a weather report from Gainesville, Florida, or Jacksonville? Where is their stadium exactly?
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, down by the bank.
Yeah, and no one lives in Jacksonville. I have driven through Jacksonville in August, in the summer, on a Sunday afternoon. I saw maybe 10 people. It's like, just think if you expanded North Tonawanda into a full-fledged city.
And then cranked up the thermostat?
Yeah, that would be Jacksonville. I'll look up the
weather.
I'll look up the weather, but I would love to bet that the sun will be there.
I was going to ask if it's going to rain. Because I think that could play a role. The line in the game, the Buffalo Bills are 1.5 point favorites, which it's just hilarious to me that we're mostly cloudy. Okay. 66 degrees. That's perfect football weather. That is perfect football weather. Bills 1.5 point favorites, which is crazy, all things considered, right?
Yes.
The Bills have been terrible against the spread this year.
Yes.
And yet Vegas keeps putting them in, at least in the initial books. Do we know if the Philly game got bet up before kickoff?
That I don't know, but I would assume one of the reasons you put Buffalo as a favorite this week, you've never seen Liam Cohen in a big spot. And I can't remember, was it a couple years ago? Was it Jacksonville came back on the Chargers, or was it the Chargers came back from like 20?
No, Jacksonville beat the Chargers big. I think they were down 21-0.
Something like that. It was like 23 points.
And then they went on to go play Kansas City in Kansas City and actually gave them a pretty good run. So they have Trevor Lawrence has one playoff win. Liam Cohen has never been to the playoffs. So I get it. If that's what they're looking at is just experience and saying, well, this quarterback, Josh Allen, has won more playoff games than most of the quarterbacks in the AFC field combined, then yeah, that's probably what they're deferring to. And it is crazy that that's only worth 1.5 points. The league's rushing title holder, the one of the best offensive lines in the entire conference, and it's worth 1.5 points. I think that tells you how tight that this thing could go either way for reasons we're going to talk about. Who do we got on the call?
It's Nance and Romo, and I'm going to pat myself on the back because we stayed after the end of the Jet game, and we were watching the Sunday night game, and then we had all the matchups in front of us, and I said, Bills Sunday at 1, lock it in. That's going to be Buffalo's game, Sunday at 1, and I think that was the only thing I got right in my guesses for where all the games are going to be because I'm too much of a fucking sports media nerd.
For the crew calling the game, this has been talked about widely, but I find it fascinating. It's Brad Allen. Now, Brad Allen has a punchable face right up there with Dan Snyder. It's not my fault. I didn't make him that way. Blame the Lord, okay? He looks like the kind of guy who'd make eye contact with you in the cereal aisle at Wegmans, fart, and then walk away without apologizing. Like, he just has that look to him. And what I love is when I say, oh, that guy looks like he has a punchable face. I hear this all the time. People are like, oh, you sound like a meathead. You're going to hit people. I'm not hitting anybody. What I would like to say is that when I describe a human being as having a punchable face, Chris, do you know that scene, the famous, the classic piece of American cinema, Home Alone 2?
Yeah.
Okay, when Macaulay Culkin is throwing bricks off the roof of the building and they keep hitting, Daniel
Stern.
Daniel Stern. He just keeps eating those things right off the face. It's hard, like, depending on the person, and it depends on their face, there's something comical about it. And when you see it, you involuntarily laugh. Daniel Stern's one of those guys, and so is Brad Allen. If I saw somebody hit a guy who looked like him with a brick, my first impulse would just be to laugh. Like, that would just be it. He's not the best. That's what I love about this. Everyone's like, oh, no, there's the win streak. No. Here's what I'm fascinated about. In 2024, Brad Allen's crew was downgraded for the postseason, and half of the crew, he was allowed to call a game as the head official, but they basically forced him to bench half of his crew and blend it with other officials after some real fiascos. Do you remember the time Detroit was supposed to win a game on a 2-point conversion? And then the ref said, actually, the guy who caught the ball isn't the one who reported as eligible. It's the other guy. And then every shred of video evidence proved he was wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Brad Allen. That fiasco was all their fault. With that said, he's also one of the more tenured NFL officials. And this season, he and his crew have called the fewest penalties in the entire NFL. 22 less than any other officiating crew. The Bills are 9-4 all time in his games and have a 6-game winning streak when Brad Allen's officials oversee their contest. And I've seen people point to that and go, oh, see, he likes the Bills or he's lucky. I think it's bigger than that. And I think that it bodes well for Buffalo when you look at what he's calling. Chris, this is me last night taking all of the officiating data for Brad Allen's crew for the entire season, dumping it into Excel, building pivot tables, and doing trend analysis.
Sounds like something you would do.
I looked back through his entire catalog of penalties called just to see what I could see. And over the last 3 weeks, this group of officials has thrown 2.5 flags per game for pass interference, defensive holding, or illegal contact. Think about how many times you see holding get called on a defense on a weekly basis in the NFL because we're such a pass-heavy league. Now figure this guy only throws 2.5 per game. And the numbers, like over the course of the entire season, bear this out. His crew just does not call things in the secondary on a prevalent basis. Those are all things that a defense that's lacking speed in their secondary might need to rely on, don't you think? If you have an officiating crew that says, hey, you know what, if you guys want to clutch and grab a little bit, our side judges are a little more lenient on that. And maybe you know that, so you know, hey, this official is going to let me play a certain type of ball game because I'm a head coach who's got years of experience with these officials and with this is where that experience thing comes into play, right?
Yes.
Sean McDermott has experience with this officiating crew and that officiating crew, and he says, okay, this is a week where I can probably coach. I can probably tell my guys in the secondary, hey, you can get a little handsy this week. They don't flag that a lot. And it might be a thing the Bills need to try and suppress a passing attack that may have them topped. I don't even think may. I don't think it's from a physical talent perspective without Max Hairston available. They definitely have the physical talent upside. Meanwhile, Brad Allen's crew is really hard on trench players. False starts and holding make up 1/10 of all the flags they've thrown for the entire season, and they've averaged 4.5 of them per game since week 1. In week 16, they called the Seahawks for holding 3 times and had 7 total offensive line penalties between the two football teams. When you consider the quality of the offensive lines in this game on an apples-to-apples basis, I'd say the Jaguars, for reasons that we're going to dig into, might have enough discord and shuffling of pieces that they'd be more susceptible to having to absorb some of those than Buffalo would be. And I think that could play a sizable role in this game. From an injury perspective, for the Buffalo Bills, it sucks. There's no other way to say it. Cornerback Max Hairston, ankle injury, out. Kicker Matt Prater, quad, probably out. Defensive tackle Ed Oliver, he was ready to come back from the bicep injury and then tweaked his knee during practice. Chris, how many more practice injuries are we going to absorb?
A lot.
It's chaos. Something happened. I want to know who backed over a gypsy out in Ralph Wilson Stadium's parking lot this year that caused this. That's the only thing I can wrap. That's the only thing I can wrap my head around and say that has to be it. Linebacker Terrell Bernard out with a calf injury. Wide receiver Curtis Samuel, who I don't think he's played since week 6 or 7. I don't know, but they didn't open his practice window. So his elbow and knee injuries haven't healed enough that he's able to play. So he won't be coming off IR. And Cam Lewis is questionable with a hamstring. That all sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think Curtis Samuel was going to come back at all to play. Regardless of injury or not, he's still useless.
I mean, useless is relative when you look at this wide receiver room. But I digress. The Jacksonville Jaguars have their own problems to deal with. Offensive guard Patrick McCarry. He was a big free agency acquisition for him. He's been out since week 16. They didn't put him on IR, which means, they probably figured he didn't need 4 weeks off, and they didn't want to risk him missing more of the playoffs. He hasn't practiced in 2 weeks, but I expect that he's going to try to play. He'll practice and ramp up and see if he can go. Their left tackle, Cole Van Lanen, questionable, hurt his knee last week against the Tennessee Titans. Now, Bills fans, reasonably, I think, were upset about Max Hairston being in the game in a fourth quarter where it meant nothing and taking an ankle sprain and probably missing at least 1, if not 2 games in the NFL playoffs. It just feels like so much of his season has been lost to this kind of stuff. I get being pissed about that, but also I would argue that losing what might have to be your starting left tackle ahead of a playoff game is just as significant an issue, if not more so. Because right now the guy playing right guard for them, Walker Little, he could slide over and play tackle again for you, but there's a reason that they moved him to guard and put a backup caliber player in at tackle to begin with. And then their center, Rob Hainsey, groin injury, questionable, but should play. He did an interview this week talking about the game and just the emotions of it all. And it sounds a lot like he's going to try to give it a go, but at the same time, backing him up as a rookie. I think a rookie 5th round draft pick. And they've looked okay without him. He's not great, but they've found ways to obviously move the football, score points, and he hasn't been a glaring liability. Neither team is coming into this thing with an ideal injury situation. So, Chris, here's a sentence I bet no one's ever said out loud before. Man, those teams in the AFC South are maybe the hottest in football right now. I promise you, no one's ever said it before. And yet here I am. The Jaguars and Texans are both 8-9, 8-9 game winning streaks. They're both on heaters, respectively. Jacksonville's recent win over Denver may be the most impressive out of all of them. And it's funny considering where the season started. Mid-season, the Jaguars looked dead in the water. I watched a pair of lackluster game against Houston, including one that they lost. Chris, on record said that should be a game that breaks a team.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And yet, since then, they've gone on an absolute tear. And here to talk about it tonight is two of our favorite. Like when we talk about guests, John, Darrick, we've been doing this for years when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We've been getting talking about this stuff. How cool has it been to watch the resiliency of the Liam Cohen version of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I mean, dude, before we even start, and Darrick, I know you'll have some opening words. Probably my favorite dance partner, the Buffalo Bills. Like this is a game that, you know, these teams are intertwined in history, right? I mean, you think
you almost killed our quarterback.
Yeah. Thanks. I mean, it's just they are just one of those teams, man, that you just continue to play. And I think just what a better way to kick off, you know, or maybe, you know, the first game of Wild Card Weekend on that Sunday is just. You know, these teams, man, you got the team in Buffalo that has, I mean, you got the Winter Warrior and Josh Allen. The field is open right now. You got Trevor Lawrence, Steezy Tees. You see them with the grill and everything else like that, man. Like, I mean, what better way to kick this off? And lastly, before I pass the mic over to Darrick, the next time we do an intro, can I please get honorary Grills Mafia member?
You are. I'll tell you what. Your work over there that you do, not only on the competition circuit but also for tailgates. Wild, man.
Yeah, we have a good time. Man.
It's amazing the work he does on that grill. That Q, man. We're always tossing pics, videos back and forth to each other. But let me tell you something. Bottom line, we can, you know. What happened? How did we get this hot? Like, how did the team look? Duval has swag. That's just what it is. We got swag. We got mojo. We don't know where it came from. We don't know how we got there. But we dang sure glad we got it. And that's just what it's going to be. You don't need to look into it. It's just what it is.
Can I tell you that it definitely didn't come from Liam Cohen's initial press conference?
Duval.
He takes us to the Super Bowl. We'll say it that way from here on out.
Yeah. We get the chip. He can say it how he wants to say it.
However he wants to, man.
So,
you know what? I respect that because I will say at the time, like when he first said it, it came across like pure cringe. Like that's somebody who's that's like somebody who's 45 going, "Oh yeah, that slaps," and I go, "Wait, what'd you just say to me?" Or when I see a guy in his 30s going 6'7", shut up.
Yeah,
shut up.
What are you doing? From the get go, you know, I would say that the Duval and like where we are right now would probably be from that press conference, and then he did his introductory, you know, press conference to the fans. And you know, I'm a sneakerhead. Darrick's a sneakerhead. You know, we like shoes, and we see him coming out in a pair of Air Jordan 11s, and we're just like, whoa, what? Like we're sitting there. It's like the Leonardo DiCaprio. We're like, whoa, what's going on here? And ever since then, man, I think that it's not only Liam's cast of characters that he has there in the coaching staff, but Campanile. I mean, Campanile is one of those guys that is literally. I mean, we at training camp, we were down there on the field. You know, a little bit of access, and he's down there hitting the guys are hitting the pad, the linebackers, and laying into him. I mean, Foye Oluokun comes up, boom, great hit. Some on the fringe guy completely whiffs, and he goes, "This ain't no fucking union job." I don't know if I can cuss. Sorry.
No, you can cuss. You say whatever you want.
This ain't no fucking union job, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is insane. Like the Jags are going to be something to be reckoned with this year, just off attitude.
See. I can commiserate with that because when I had media credentials for 2017 and it was Sean McDermott's very first Bills training camp. It was the last day of camp. They're there at St. John Fisher. They're going through their drills and they're just having a sloppy day. And so they're coming to the offensive line and the running back fumbles. And He was like a third string running back. He fumbles the ball. Sean McDermott called a halt to the entire practice, made all 90 guys come to the center field and take a knee so we could cuss them all out collectively. And I'm looking at some of the longtime beat reporters going, does this happen? And they were like, no coach ever just uniformly undresses 90 dudes to their face. Like, that's the way Sean McDermott's doing it. And that's how you knew that the culture had shifted. He was like, hey, all this gravy training that you guys have been doing here for the years, it's over. Now we're going to bring in some discipline. And it almost feels like the relationship between Liam Cohen and Campanelli have been like good cop, bad cop. And it's been fueling the Jaguars. Is that about right?
It has been. And I mean, if you look at the play of just one individual, Devin Lloyd, he was on his way out. No option picked up. Like, we were like, okay, yeah, you changed your number to 0, but what's that going to correlate to? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but forget just a Pro Bowl. He should be an all-pro. Like, the fact that he's top 3 in picks, he'd probably lead the league in tackles if he wasn't hurt for 3 or 4 games. Point is, you see that relationship. It seems like they have gotten into the head of these guys because there's no wild free agents outside of Jacoby Meyer that we traded for. It's the same cast of characters, especially on defense.
No, the defense is, would it be crazy of me to say that the defense, like the offense, the last couple of years, the Jaguars have been able to show in a bunch of games, like, hey, we have some offensive acumen. We can move the football. Trevor Lawrence can do some things in a game when the circumstances are right. It was the defense that always let them down. Go back to, John, you were talking about you're glad you didn't come to Buffalo for that Buffalo versus Jaguars game because the defense was the one that didn't show up, and the Bills marched up and down the field on them. This year, it's that defense that's tenacious. Even when they can't stop you, they're always looking to try to take they're taking a cheap shot. They're taking the ball away. They're putting a hard hit on somebody. It's like there's been an infusion of life in that side of the football.
Yeah, I think Campanelli has definitely done that, and I think they rallied to the ball very well. But I think another thing too that's really good is that Buffalo, has had this as well, is that you have a good core nucleus of players. You got returning people, you've got people that have been on the opposite side of that losing coin, and now they want to change the culture. They don't want to lose any more games. They don't want to be the laughing stock of the league anymore. You get a couple of draft picks and a couple of guys that have seen success before at the college level, and then they come in and they say, this isn't the way that it's supposed to feel. We're not here just to collect a check. We're here to win games. And as you continue to build that culture and you continue to retain talent and build talent, then that's how you continue to get that nucleus in, and then you get someone like Campanelli that can come in and teach competent, football and competent, strategies, but then also add that edge to it, and that edge is we're going to take the ball away. And you'll see, and if anyone that's watched any of the Jaguars games or anything else like that, you see they're rallying to the ball, and then it's like a gang fight. Someone is standing you up, and then someone is punching at the ball or anything else like that. Like someone is scraping, clawing away. It's whenever they bat a ball down, a receiver that's running downhill is getting hit, like, period. And it's the craziest thing ever. Earlier this year, I forget who the game was. I can't remember who it was, but the Jags, they batted a pass, and the receiver, Darrick, I think it was against Houston. I think it was where I'm looking at his face right now. I can't think of his name, Darrick. Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk got tackled in the end zone, but the pass was batted, and it ended up being a pick. And he's calling for the flag, and the ref's like, no, you batted the ball. That we batted the ball, and that's it. And that's happened on several plays where the Jags have been very opportunistic once the ball is in the air, once it's batted at the line, and then when it comes to a running back, getting stood up or something like that, Gardeck, number 47, watch out for him on Sunday. We got 2 guys with long blonde hair, 2 on the defense, Dewey Wingard and Gardeck. And once Gardeck comes in, man, he's literally coming in and punching the ball out. Like, it's the craziest thing we've seen. You got to watch zero in the middle with Devin Lloyd, who you guys all know that. But the intangibles that this team is coming with is that they're a physical smash mouth team.
Well, and it's also just the way that it was built. Like Olakin comes from Atlanta. He's a well-rounded linebacker, but I don't think he ever got the proper shine, which is why you guys got him for what you got him for. And now you find out, oh no, this guy's he's a G. He's a stud. And so then you pair him with the Devin Lloyd, and you go, oh, okay, now we've got this premier linebacker tandem. These guys who are rangy, who can cover, who can do. And yet at the same time, they're a little susceptible to things from tight ends. Like, there's some stuff here. We're going to get into this. What I want to talk about first is the offense, right? West Coast offense under Cohen that simplifies reads. And that's where you're seeing all this, I think, this newfound confidence from Trevor Lawrence. He fought it at first, and it took him some time to get used to it. Now it's just, I'm going to use pre-snap motion. You just have to get used to the fact that we want that in the offense. But it will help you once you learn how to use it. And over the course of the season, he learned how to use it to read a defense. And the second that happened, it just started to click. And now they're running 11 personnel at almost 70%, which is like 10% higher than the rest of the NFL. And it's something the Bills are familiar with from our days when we had Stephon Diggs. Back when we had star wide receivers, we were running 11 personnel at one of the highest percentages in the league because we knew we could steal on you if we did that. We knew we could get mismatches anywhere we wanted it if we lined up with Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, and you guys are going out there with a group of wide receivers who Parker Washington, I think, is one of the more underrated receivers. And it pisses me off that we took a guy named Justin Shorter like 10 picks before him. It'll never stop bothering me. But for comparison's sake, because this game, schematic wise, is oil and water. We are two very different franchises. You guys have this super fun, better play calling, better personnel usage. Trevor Lawrence is walking around with a fucking grill in. He's walking around, he's shiny. I can't fault him. Right? Like, you want to celebrate the guy. He's having success this was the success he was supposed to have when he was drafted. Everyone's celebrating the guy now. And then you look at the Bills and you go, wait a minute, isn't this the former league MVP? Well, why the hell are you guys running out of 22 personnel 13% of the time? Why are you flooding the field with tight ends and running the ball a ton? Why are you taking the ball out of the hands of the league MVP? It's a weird shift where you go, all of the mojo from a passing perspective is in the Jacksonville Jaguars court. And when you look at the Bills, they've become a team that has to live and die by the tight end room. And just by what we do with the line of scrimmage. We run 12 personnel 11% of the time. Our approach is tight end heavy. And we're a top 10 offense in EPA per play out of those personnel groupings. So this is how I guess I just question, like, what approach do you think works best in this matchup? Because realistically, this is just nothing but a game of mismatches. It's two drastically different philosophies, and it's also two drastically different styles of building a roster. And they're going to crash into each other and figure out which one makes the most sense.
It's funny you say that because when you look at, we'll start with on the Jags side with offense, the motion is their key. A lot of things they do in the first quarter are smoke screens to see how you're going to react. And then it's almost like they have a whole nother wristband or a whole nother play sheet based off of your reaction. And this is the beauty of being a Jags fan now. Last 5-6 years, you got armchair quarterbacks and fans that, have pods that are able to predict the offense. Now we haven't a clue what they're getting ready to do. And I love it. I don't need to understand or know or be able to predict that. I just want to enjoy and watch the game. And that's the biggest thing from the Jag side is you mentioned the motion. You saw they motioned Trevor out from wide receiver in the red zone for that last one of those touchdown passes against the Titans. And everybody was pissed. Oh, look at Trevor. He's coming back under center. I was looking at the Titans defense. They didn't know what the heck was going on. Not a clue. So that's definitely the key from a Jack side. And
Well, all they're doing is they're putting that on tape because now they're like, now you have to watch it.
It's all smoke. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's a screen. You know?
But there was some growing pains to that because earlier this year, the pre-snap penalties were insane. Like the pre-snap penalties were insane. I would say they probably didn't get that under wraps until the bye week, maybe
9, 10, somewhere around there.
It was insane because they had like the pre-snap penalties were insane, and so we were in this at the beginning of the season. We were in this rut where we would gain 10 yards. Lose 15.
Go back 10 yards.
Yeah, gain 20 yards, go back 10. So it was like really weird how they could not get into motion because of the pre-snap penalties. And a majority of the majority of the offense also runs through ETN. So you get ETN rolling and runs through him literally like through runs, but then also through screens as well. So they're able to really get really creative with some of the the screens, but then also you can see Trevor come in and move his hands and do all this other stuff, and then it ends up being a draw that goes for 15 yards because the defense wasn't ready for it. So the pre-snap penalties have been growing pains for us, and I would say it was probably up until week 5 against week 5 against the Chiefs. Like they really got a hold of some of the pre-snap penalties, and Liam Cohen said that in the beginning of one of his press conferences that these weren't plays; these are not new plays. These are plays that we can run when the offense is in rhythm, when we don't have to, now have to face a 2nd and 15. If we can face a 2nd and 3, now we can take a shot. Now we can get tricky. Now we can do these things and prepare for either a 3rd and short or 4th and 1, or worst case scenario, if we're on our side of the 50, we're going to bring the kicker out here and we're going to get 3 points as well. So they've been very, fortunate and evolved from those growing pains from the pre-snap penalties.
One of the things I find fascinating about your offense, though, when you're saying like, it runs through ETN, if we can just get him rolling. Team's top 10 in rushing attempts, but 20th in yardage, which points to some inefficiency. And I think in your wins, you've been able to do that. But in your losses, even in some of your wins, it's been a little hard to get some momentum in running the football. How much of that do you attribute to the talent of the running back room, and how much of that do you point to just what's been going on with your offensive line?
It's a little bit of both, depending upon the game, to be honest with you. We had Tootin out the last 3 weeks of the season. I think he came back for the Titans game, but he had been out. But 2, Cohen it's almost like he has to tell everyone, obviously, we have the threat to run. But if you can't stop the pass, I'm not going to stop throwing it. Sometimes I like it. Sometimes I don't, because I'm almost like, hey, like on Sunday's game, first 3 plays, pass. Like, dude, I thought we were going to run the ball and set things up, But he passed. But if you trust the process, you realize that he was just setting it up because we started running the ball a little bit. Tennessee came down and shut it down. And then you start seeing the motion and the play action. So it was almost like it was a setup. Like he knew what he was doing. Like, I'm going to come out 3 straight passes, but we'll see what happens.
Can I tell you the Bills have been doing this for years? And that's why I'm fascinated to watch you guys. It's like, oh no, they figured it out. It's literally the scene in Billy Madison when he catches the ball and he's like, oh shit, I can do that.
Yeah,
all right,
now
you're in trouble.
You're all in big trouble.
So I will tell you, there's one play that you've probably seen this JK through 100 times. We run some type of toss crack counter or some sort. It's a short toss, but it has like a crackback element to it, and they can also do it within a counter. And I'm like, well, that's the weirdest toss I've ever seen. But then all of a sudden, there's no toss. Trevor just rolls out. He comes back out of the pocket, and then it's throw or it's a 1 or 2 read option. And I'm like, okay, that's why he kept doing it, because, like you said, Etienne's getting like 2 yards, 3 yards off of it. Hey, they're on to that, but he keeps running it. And then finally in the second half, here he comes. They don't run it. They fake it. And here's somebody, Parker Washington, 30 yards down the field. So he's playing chess. And like you said, like Josh Allen with his big behind self, been doing this now 6-7 years. It's nice to have a coach that's playing chess instead of checkers.
Right. Instead of trying to line up and just go, hey, we can do this. It's hard to go nose to nose with a Josh Allen-led offense all the time and expect to come out on top if your quarterback isn't also operating on the same level. And I feel like that's where the Jaguars have been since Josh got here. You guys beat us in the playoffs back in 2017, 2018, and then since then, it's been all downhill for the Jaguars against basically since Josh got here. And that's been the deciding factor is whose quarterback can dictate what. But I feel like your coach gives him options. This is a game of mismatches. Like we just talked about how different our approach is in terms of offense. When you look at some things like a kicker, advantage Jaguars. Greg Little has been insane. He tweeted something today because someone was like, I can't believe we let kick in an era where pass catching is this and this, that. We still let games get decided by guys who are half the size, whatever. And Greg Little commented on it on Twitter. I was like, yeah, speak on it. Get in there. Nothing makes me happier than seeing a kicker be cocky because I like that. I like a dude with swagger who can come out there and just knock one through from 68 yards. Are you fucking crazy?
Cam Little is all of like 5'8", 5'9".
That's what I'm talking about.
Cam Little is
He's all of that, and then as far as things too, like as far as you talk about like the confidence off the field, he is one of these more swaggier players in the locker room. Like my guy had on a Dior sweater. Like as far as the kicker goes, man, he's one of the more swaggier guys on the team. He's got the moxie in him. But then again, like what we talked about earlier, as far as like the personalities and some of the fit. This is going all the way down to special teams. Like you look at. Our kicker is being swaggy. We got a punter right now, Logan Cook, who a couple weeks ago against Tennessee, we had a linebacker crying, saying that the punter said he was going to kill him. Like literally, we got that. We got a long snapper in Ross Matisic he's a pro. I think he was the only Pro Bowler, like first ballot Pro Bowler that we have. But I mean, he's running down the field and knocking people's heads off as well. So I mean, it's just it's a different Jags team, man. I've been watching this team since I was 9 years old, and I haven't seen it. And Cohen always preaches all three phases.
Well, so let's go down the list. Kicker, advantage Jacksonville. Wide receiver, advantage Jacksonville, right? Because there's no disputing the fact that your wide receiver core is better than what the Bills are bringing.
Really quick question, and just for the story behind Florida State fan in me. What is wrong with Keon Coleman? Why is he such a knucklehead for you guys? I'm hearing all kind of rumors.
Not showing up, not being available, not making himself available when he should. There's a whole lot going on there. There's some stuff I can tell you off air, but I can tell you this. He's not – essentially nobody knows whether or not he actually wants to be an NFL football player. Nobody wants to know whether or not he actually wants to be this. And that's okay. It's not for everybody, right? Like I remember a couple years ago, a kid, Jared Obercrom, out of TCU. Kid was being talked about as the next Justin Tucker. They were like, he's incredible. He can kick from 57, 58, 59 in college. That's impressive. And then he didn't get drafted. And then he got a camp invite to the Browns. And he spent 3 days with them. And in the car on the way home back to Texas, he called his agent and told him, I quit. I retire. I'm done. I'm never playing it. And now he has like a kicking clinic that he's doing for other kids. And he's got some other things he's working on business-wise. But he was just like, I'm not cut out to be an NFL football player. Just because you have the gifts to do it doesn't mean you have it up here. for the grind, for the everyday grind of, hey, now I have to go out and compete with guys who are just as good as me, if not better than me, all the way up the depth chart. And I have to prove every single day that I belong here on the field. Keon Coleman just doesn't seem like he's built for that grind. And that's sad because we were doing a draft day show and I started the show. I go, hey guys, let's take this in an unorthodox direction. Instead of talking about what we want to see, let's talk about what we don't want. And I said, I don't want Keon Coleman. He's big, he's slow, he's everything we don't need. And then they took him. And I was like, of course they did, because they hate me. And now here we are. Tight end advantage has to be Buffalo Bills. You guys have Brenton Strange, but I'll tell you what, Dalton Kincaid, Jackson Hawes, Dawson Knox, this team runs all of that 12 and 22 personnel because they know what the secret sauce is. They understand, hey, everything goes through these three guys. And that shows how different we are in roster construction than you guys are. Then offensive line. PFF ranks us, and PFF can go to hell, but 5th, and you guys are ranked in 18th. I look at the injuries right now, and I want to talk to you guys about how big of a story is the shuffling that's been going on here. Because right now you have a left tackle, Colvin Lannon, who hasn't had a great couple games. I went back and watched some of his games. He was good, but not great, and then he gets hurt. Now, maybe he can play. Maybe he can't. If he can't, then your guard shifts over to tackle. But why did they have to shift him to guard in the first place?
Because he's hot garbage. I'll say it. If it wasn't for our ex-GM, and we're not living in the past, he wouldn't even be on the team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Come on, John, you got to agree with me.
Yeah, I agree with you. The offensive line, was one of the things that the team hasn't been able to address in free agent. They did it with Macari, so they were able to bring in Patrick Macari. They were also able to bring in, a couple of other, filler guys here. But I would say that the offensive line now and the ragtagginess is where it is right now. This core that we have now with Van Lanen, Cleveland, Hainsley at center, which was a great pickup also. So Hainsley being at center and Macari and Anton Harrison is probably going to be the best core that we have coming in. Now, eventually Walker Little was at that left tackle spot, but again, turnstile. So you have to bring in, you have to bring in Cole Van Lanen, who's been on the team for 3 or 4 years. He's been a backup and played he's been a swing offensive lineman. He's played every position on the offensive line, maybe minus center. He might have actually played center. I don't know.
Is he healthy enough to play on Sunday? That's what I want to know.
He's questionable now.
Yeah, he's questionable. They did say that he was walking, pretty freely in the locker room after the game with no kind of real heavy restriction.
So maybe him being removed from the game was precautionary.
Yeah, but the strength of the offensive line now is going to be that right side. If Van Lanen, if he stays, with him being hurt, the strength of the offensive line is going to be on that right side with Anton Harrison and Macari and anchored by Hainsley right there. Ezra Cleveland is a good left guard, is a serviceable left guard. I do hope that in the draft, we go after some hogs. And again, I've told Darrick, my offensive lineman, I want, someone that's a road grader, just big, nasty, that's what we need.
The Bills found it in Osiris Torrance, and I'll tell you what, it made
look, as a Florida Gator fan, Osiris Torrance is my prototypical offensive lineman. Absolutely, you have to line up against him every play, and he's going to hit you in the mouth every play.
So what I look at, though, because I put a lot of work into looking at some of the numbers here, and Monheim, he stepped in. He actually did pretty well. Monheim looked pretty good as a backup for Hansey. So you take a look at what he did, though, by comparison, Hansey, the Bills center, no sacks allowed, first in the NFL in that regard, 6th best pass protection in the league. Hainsey, he has 3. He's the 32nd ranked pass protector. That's backup level protection, but he's doing well enough. And you guys are finding a way to work around it with the motion and with everything else you're doing. And this is where I say, like, I keep going back to, like, our rosters are built so differently. We put all of our eggs in different baskets. We put all of our eggs in the offensive line. We have two bookend tackles. We have two great guards. We have a stellar center. We have a great running back. And then we have our quarterback, who everyone's like, oh, he has this cannon for an arm, he should air it out. And we have a dog shit wide receiver group. Whereas you guys went the opposite direction and said, hey, listen, we can be cheap on the offensive line, and we're going to have skill players for days. It feels like the Bills in 2020. When they were just machine gunning teams to death. And they were like, look, our defense only has to get a couple turnovers, get a couple stops. Even if we win a game 30-24, it doesn't matter because we scored 30. Fuck you because you let us get there. It feels like that's become the mentality of the Jaguars, whereas the Bills have regressed to this place where we're like, well, our skill positions are so bad. We have to now slow the game down and take the air out of the ball. And that's actually how we win.
And and honestly, I think that's the key to victory for the Bills on Sunday is if you keep 16 on the sideline. I don't think that's going to happen, though. The reason why I don't think that's going to happen, and again, this is just me just talking ball, not talking, shit or anything else like that. But the reason why I think that's going to happen is because, number one, Josh Allen, he's hurt. He's hurt, right? He's hurt. Like I'm not going to go into how serious it is. He's hurt.
He's had a high ankle sprain for at least 2 weeks, and everybody knows you get one of those, that's like a 4 to 6 week thing.
It's not even a high ankle sprain. What it is that he pulled. So what it was that there's something in the center of his foot that got sprained, and it's painful, and it's a pain management thing. And what I love about that is that he's like, well, it's pain management, but I don't care. And this is the same guy who tore his UCL, and we were like, oh my God, does he need Tommy John surgery? Is our whole franchise going to collapse around this? And then they were like, well, yeah, but he should he won't need Tommy John, but he should probably take 5 weeks off. And then he was practicing 3 days later, but they kept trying to keep it hush hush. And then he got caught on camera where he had all his practice gear on, and it was like, oh shit, this dude's going to go out there and play. And he had the game of his life against the Vikings, and we lost, but he threw 4 touchdowns. And it's like, oh, okay, so it's this thing.
In the absence of him being hurt, and he not right. I love that. Go out on your shield. I love that. But the next thing that you have is James Cook, best running back in football, in my opinion. Best running back in football. He has the rushing title this year. But on the flip side of that, you have the number 1 rushing defense in the NFL.
Now, I want to talk about that because we talked earlier about some idiot who likes to blow smoke up everybody's ass using conflated stats. I want to take some of that stuff. Dan Mitchell, we're talking about you. You suck. I just want to talk a little bit about some stuff here. When you think about who you've played and what we've played and what we're doing statistically, I look at this and I just go, okay, well, how about solo tackles? Who's doing what? And everyone goes, oh, the Jaguars, they never make mistakes on defense. And I go, okay, well, the Bills have made headlines all year for how poorly we tackle. We're dead last in solo tackles in the NFL. That means the first guy who gets to the ball carrier on a given down doesn't make the tackle. Jacksonville's 30th. So you guys are talking about gang tackling, and you're like, oh, someone will come in, we'll stand you up, we'll rake the ball out. That's cool, but that means the first guy getting there ain't bringing the ball carrier down either. And so we're both, like on defense, everyone loves to talk about how weak we are. And I look at this and I go, well, statistics can tell you one story or the other depending on how you want to twist them. I'm just looking at this and saying, okay, our numbers for first down per play and third down conversion percentage are almost the same. We are very similar in terms of production. We just do it differently. You do it through the air. We do it on the ground. And we do it with the tight ends.
But your team, the defense, has not had a running back held under 75 yards the entire year.
And that's a problem. That's a problem. And that's look. I remember going to that Houston game and going, "Oh, guys, we're gonna." But why? The reason I thought we could beat Houston was because I was like, "Oh, it's Woody Marks. He's 5'9". He's a rookie. He weighs nothing. Why can't you stop him?" And then I watched him drag Teron Johnson. He tackled him 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage on 4th down, and Woody Marks dragged our nickel corner across the line for a first down. And I was like, "Oh, we're fucked. That's done. That's done. Shoot me in the face right now." I went to bed early that night, and I was happy I did.
It's really weird because you guys, as great as the Bills are as a team, and you gotta, although we're playing this weekend, you gotta have respect for what you guys have been doing the last 5 or 6 years. We only wish we could have been in that position the last 5 or 6 years. But this is where I think the receivers come back to bite you. The fact that play action, like, it's easy. Hey, catch their safeties and linebackers downhill. Beat them over the top. Basic football. If you've played since you were 5, you know these things. Okay. For whatever reason, you guys can't do it because of the receiver room. And our safeties have a notion to sometimes come down
Oh,
and help
sometimes?
out.
Sometimes?
All the time.
Dude,
All
they
right?
jump route. So what I love about
we feast or famine off of that.
what I love about you guys is that your defense is not the soundest against the pass, but what you do is you make people pay for mistakes. You guys make people pay if you fuck up, and you put the right pressure on them to try to push them in that direction. This is not unfamiliar to us because this is what we as Bills fans have thrived on for the last decade. It's literally been the Sean McDermott Buffalo Bills having safety rotation, packing the line of scrimmage and bailing out at the last minute. And then, hey, quarterback has to make a decision. Read his eyes. Go read that quarterback's eyes. Watch him, because the guy who was his second read's gone. Now he's got to scramble and try to get to his third read. He's going to make a late throw. You better break on that. You better be ready to break on that. And when you do, you turn the ball over. That's football.
Another thing too that the Jags do on D that we'll do it on third. I've seen we do it on third down, first down. Is they take Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen and put them on the same side, and then they start running stunts. Yeah, they overload, and then they'll bring Jarian Jones and a nickel and Dewey, and all of them will come down. They'll get in that double A gap, and and then they'll bail. They'll all bail, or they'll bring 5, and you don't know what the heck
our
what the call
Achilles
is.
heel all year.
Yeah.
To be honest, like that, the fact that's why this is a nightmare scenario for me, where I go, oh, so we have the most creative defense out of all the teams. When you looked at the Rolodex of, hey, look at what we did to the New England Patriots in that comeback. The Bills are one of the highest teams in the NFL in terms of spinning their secondary pre and post snap. The Jaguars are right there in the top 5.
Yeah, that roll coverage you're talking about, right? Where you
Exactly.
roll it from one side
you
to the other.
just
Yeah.
constantly roll, but it's always post snap. And so whatever you see pre snap, you know it's going to change. And that makes this hell. It makes it hell for a quarterback and an offensive coordinator. You guys live in this rarefied air where you get to run a defense like that. Now, what I want to ask, a couple questions. I know every Bills fan listening to this is going to ask. The Bills do still have the league leading rusher. And while it's easy to look at all the things that teams have had success against us with, they have been known to just, hey, we don't care if you know what the play is. Good, you know it. We're still going to do it. Can you stop it? We line up in duo and we smash you in the mouth and we open up that line and we make your linebackers make a play. Now, Odulakun is great. He's a great matchup against James Cook in this one. But with that said, the solo tackle numbers. I look at that and I go, damn it, Odulakun. Like, are you the best run stopper in the NFL? No. Okay, well then where are you? When it comes to that dynamic of the Bills offense, are you concerned that over the course of 4 quarters, they could wear you down with that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's 2 tight end formations are they're not fun to see. And when you look at James Cook, 2, 3, 2, 30, 4, 8, for 20, you know, and then he pops to 80. You know, he's got that South Florida gear, and it's all over. So the Bills play that to their advantage so well. Honestly, my kind of hope, for my own opinion, is Josh Allen tries to take the game over and leaves James Cook within a limited amount of carries. Honestly, I think that, yeah, he's going to get into a gunslinging match with Trevor, and let's see who uses their team and who doesn't. Because as great as Josh Allen is, he has a tendency to say, screw everybody, I'm still going to do this myself. And if he does that, that's not going to work. You'll score, but you'll lose.
It has to be a team effort or they're not getting this thing done.
I think another thing too here is that you look at the consistency of the offensive line for Buffalo. I think you look at how you're talking about how they're just built, and then I think the trouble here, as well for the Jags is going to be within Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. I think that two-side end set is going to be very, very troublesome for us, especially when you have an aggressive defense. When you have a defense that leads the league in, or that you have players that lead the league in pressures, they're not getting home. So when you're not getting home, someone is running that way, and what's going to happen is that tight end, Dawson Knox is going to, Kincaid and Knox, they're going to get theirs, right? So, I mean, I think that's the thing that really scares me too. But like what Darrick alluded to as well, the James Cook, man, I mean, that's just one of the things that really, really frightens me about this team is that, if he does pop one, you're not going to catch him. I mean, you just aren't. And depending if he does the numbers hash sidelines, you're not going to catch him. And then on top of that, if you guys get the ball down within the 20, then it's any man's game. Anybody can score from that point. You can run a play action to him. I don't think if Allen is going to get mobile, then you have your tight ends actually floating in the backfield and those things like that. And when you have an aggressive and opportunistic defense like we have, the mismatches and making sure that they're not keeping their keys could really lead to their downfall. With the play.
We don't have anybody on the back end that's an open burner. Travis Hunter was the guy. Anybody on the back end that can really open up and get to that 4-2, 4-3, we don't have it back there. So
James Cook hits the open field, he might just take off.
Yeah, he's gone. Mm-hmm. And he can do that. He can do that against 31 other teams in the NFL. He can do that against anyone. Yeah, he is a special talent. And again, with Darrick and I being here in Florida, everyone heard Dalvin Cook when he was at Florida State. Dalvin Cook. And Darrick's like, no, James. And we're like, who the hell is James? His daddy?
I remember we were prepping to record one night talking crap about FSU in Florida, and I was like, he's got a little brother. He's like, what do you mean? I said, he's got a little brother.
We're like, another one? Oh, no. And they're like, yeah, the little brother may be passing. Like, there's no way. And then, of course, you see the little brother is lightning in a bottle.
NFL rushing title. That's rare, man.
Isn't it kind of crazy how we're in this age now where we're just watching the plateau of Derrick Henry, right? Isn't it kind of crazy how the fumbles, I mean, is it age? I know that's completely off.
Whoa. So I'm an Alabama guy. I watched Derrick Henry's entire career. I also respect the Ravens. So I've watched them for years. Now I disrespect them because their fans have gotten disrespectful, and I find it funny to revel in their misery. So, because I'm petty. We're the pettiest, hardest drinking podcast. Why wouldn't we do that? Fuck them and their friends. So what I know is that watching him, he got old quick. And it ruined a bunch of my fantasy teams this year. Admittedly, it ruined a bunch of my fantasy teams. The Derrick Henry turn was that if you're big and you're physical and you lumber and you do these things, I compare it to the LaShawn McCoy trajectory. LaShawn McCoy, when he retired, he still could have kept playing. He just chose not to. And he was like, oh, well, nobody thinks I have any juice left. Fuck it. I'm not going to sacrifice my body. Any number of teams would have taken him. He just chose not to. James Cook has more of the LaShawn McCoy than he does the Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a prototype of what happens when, like, that's nature. that's nature and time. You can't survive the rigors of the NFL for that long playing at that level without a fall off.
I tell this to people all the time, like, oh, but they're so big. And I'm like, look, Earl Thomas cracked Gronk's chest. He literally cracked it. Okay, a 5'11", 6-foot safety cracked a 6'7" tight end. So then when you look at Derrick Henry, another big target, they don't look at him as big. They look at him, oh, he's a big target.
Oh, I just got more room to hit. When you're small, like, so Brett Coleman, friend of mine, tweeted out, he goes, Mekhi Lemon, I'm a bigger fan of his than I've ever been before. And they were like, why are you? They're like, oh, earlier in your career when you were doing draft prognostication, you used to lean towards big physical receivers. And he was like, yeah, he goes, but I've learned that the NFL doesn't thrive on big physical receivers anymore. Now it's small, fast guys who aren't afraid to die. It's small, fast guys who aren't afraid to die.
And that's a great segue because we've got a guy on our team that's small and fast and is afraid to die. And they keep him on the outside. And then we've got another guy on our team that's small and fast and that is not afraid to die. And you will see a heavy dose of Parker Washington on Sunday. And now you're a stat guy. You're a numbers guy, Drew. So I saw this earlier. I mean, I was listening to you earlier. Now, would you believe me if I told you that Parker Washington and T. Higgins have the same amount of receptions and yards and average?
That sounds about right. The games I've watched the Jacksonville Jaguars play when they get off, it's because Parker Washington's involved.
And he's not afraid to go up and get the ball. You get another guy like Jacoby Myers that comes in, and the offense has literally, ever since we've played Vegas and he came over immediately, has uplifted this offense, which is allowing BTJ to be on the side and, be that streaker, maybe that intermediate guy or anything else like that, but he doesn't have to come across for contact. And that's where a lot of those drops came, with earlier in the year as well. So, you got guys now that know their role and aren't afraid, to go out and go across the middle in Parker Washington. Jacoby Myers is going to catch everything that's thrown his way. You get Brenton Strange lined up, and that's where the Jags get really dangerous. When you get Trev and he gets those mismatches. So I would say that prepare again for the mismatches that we keep alluding to and we keep talking about. If you get a linebacker on Parker Washington, hey Josh, we need you to come back out and get us one right now, because it's gonna happen. When you get a BTJ on a mismatch or anything else like that, with your
if he catches it.
If he catches it.
No one's fallen farther from grace than Brian Thomas Jr.
It's his second year. We'll get that figured out. But again, I mean, it's the NFL, bro. You got to catch. And I think Michael Irvin has the best quote about it. You're going to catch that slant, or you're going to go back to the ghetto. That's what Michael Irvin is one of the best. Again, not saying that BTJ is from, any poverty-stricken place or anything else like that, but Michael Irvin was going across the middle. Michael Irvin did not care he was going to get hit. Michael Irvin knew that he was going to get hit, and he's the playmaker for a reason. He knew it. You got to catch the ball. You got to catch the ball in the NFL.
Guys, I can't wait to see how this one unfolds. It's going to be explosive one way or the other. When it's all said and done, will you come back and do a recap show with us?
Sure, bro, absolutely.
I've never ducked any smoke from you. Ducked any of it. I've told you.
I'll tell you what.
It's
not about smoke. It's more about just I like talking to you guys about football. This shit is fun. We could do this all night. But for tonight, we got to get out of here. Why don't you tell everybody where they can follow you on social media and where they can follow your work?
Well, you can follow. I think Down by the Bank right now is at Twitter. We're in a little bit of a dormant transformative stage right now.
Sure.
So you can follow me at JK the Third on Twitter.
And Instagram for your barbecue.
Right? Yeah. Oh, so for Instagram on barbecue, you can it's Kellum. So K3 because I'm the third. LLUM. So the E is a 3. You see what I did there? K3, yeah. If you gotta explain it, it's probably dumb. So yeah. So but it's too big of a following right now. So you can follow me on Instagram. And really quick before I shut up for the night, your boy is it Iman? Iman. Hats off, Iman. Keep grilling. Keep doing your thing. The seasonings are dope. The sauces are dope. The tailgate's insane as well. I see your selection as far as the steak, the bourbon, the crostinis. Chris doing his weekly recap of telling everybody to come meet us in the mud lot and everything else like that, and his commercial voice that he has going and everything else like that. Outstanding job, man.
He's like a used car salesman.
I wish I lived closer to Buffalo, man. I really do, because the tailgates kick ass.
Oh man. You can find me at the D-Rock. You know, I do grill, but I don't grill like this guy. I do it for the fam, not for the flash. Sorry, yeah, he does do it for the flash, and I pick at him about it. But no, we always enjoy getting with Rockpile with you guys, Chris, Drew. It's good to talk to other fans and other people that are passionate about their team, and we just. As Jags fans, man, like I said, we just got swag. We have no idea where it came from, but we're here to embrace it, and that's just what it's going to be.
John Kellum, Darrick Smith. They don't really use Twitter, although John Kellum, you can watch all of his barbecue content on Instagram, which is K3 LLUM. His last name, except the E, is the number 3, I think it's because he is a third. He is John Kellum the third. So I think that's why he uses the 3.
Do me a favor. Up there on the screen, can you get me Pro Football Reference, the 2025 Buffalo Bills? Just stats and standings. It's always fun talking to those guys, and I love the fact that you're nowhere, like, there's no universe in which you're cool enough to ever get away with using a number
instead of a letter.
It's really funny. And I would love to watch the three of you guys, and me as a spectator, like you three, just go out to a bar somewhere, just together as a crew.
I could do that.
Just see you try to hang out with those guys and match their vibes. You can't do that. You're too stiff. I love it. I do love it. And unfortunately, that brings us to tonight's keys to victory.
Wow, that's a lot of keys. Bigger the keychain, more powerful the man.
Now, want to get into this, I got to grab another brew. The defense, Chris, and I can't stress this enough, the defense cannot afford another postseason no-show. Now, if you scroll up there, you know, Matty Glab had this tweet the other day talking about Bills defensive coordinator Bobby Babich, talking about the defense getting in a groove and the importance of peaking at the right time. And a lot of people naysayed it. There was a lot of negativity, I think, from fans when they're like, oh, the defense is the worst and blah, 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 blah. Since week 12, the Bills are second in the NFL, allowing just 251 total yards per game. 9th in allowing 19.4 points per game. 2nd with 139 passing yards per game. 10th with 112, and 1st in allowing a 56.8% completion percentage. That's all great. Okay. Now, here's what I want to point out. If you scroll down, first of all, that Jets game just absolutely skews that. Chris, if you go up, well, how many yards? There, stop right there. How many passing yards? How many passing yards did we allow on defense?
53. 122 total.
So when you sit here and try to tell me about rankings, but this is why all of this information is, like, again, you could use stats to argue almost anything. When you're telling me that, passing yards, here's where we rank. We're second in the league. Yeah, because the Jets showed up. If the Jets showed up in everybody else's last 6 games of the season, I bet you their numbers would look similar. What I am willing to point out, though,
I will point out, you say that Jet number skews things. We played in week 2, and they had one more pass yard than they did on Sunday.
That's hilarious. I think that just underscores how much it sucks to be a Jets fan. Like, it's just so bad.
Dude, with the amount of national media I follow, and there are certain shows that are getting a little drafty, they're like, oh, if I'm Dante Moore, I go back to school. If I know I can't get the Raider job with the first pick, just go back. You don't want to deal with the Jets.
So knowing that, though, we did still play some adequate competition, right? 3 playoff teams in both the Steelers, the New England Patriots, and the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think that by and large, you'd call the results of those games defensively okay. I mean, right? Like, okay. 7 against the Steelers is good with a banged up Aaron Rodgers and just bad weather that suppressed their passing ability. I'm not trying to make excuses for the Steelers here. I'm just saying that's what it is. That's why all week when people are regurgitating these stats, I just go back to what I've seen from them in postseasons prior. Chris, if you scroll up to the top of the screen and go back to 2024. Previous season, right there. Looking at last year, and you look at defensively what we gave up in the postseason. In the wild card round, we gave up, not bad, 224. We pretty much had the Denver Broncos number all day, though. And then we ran into the Baltimore Ravens and almost didn't survive, giving up 416 yards of offense. Factor in the multiple turnovers that Lamar Jackson had. It's stunning that we won that football game. Our offense only gained 273. Our defense cannot allow that type of game. And the reason why is because the Jaguars don't turn the ball over enough to make that sort of game sustainable. Without Bernard in there, although I think he was a big culprit of missed tackles for a large part of the season, our missed tackle numbers have to regress back to the mean. They have to. You have to try to find a way to keep a team that can, because that was the book on the Houston Texans, right? They can't run the football. Don't worry, we've got an inherent advantage because this team, no matter how bad our run defense is, they can't. Chris, click the box score for the Houston Texans game. We went into that week going, well, I'm confident because I'm pretty sure they're not going to be able to run the football. Just scroll down there and tell me how many yards Woody Marks had.
Oh, he probably had only had 74.
Only had 74.
On 16 carries.
On 16 carries. That's not good. It's not good. He also had multiple carries where it's like, 3rd and short. And you're saying, well, this running back is tiny. We should be able to hem him in. He shouldn't be able to. Oh, wait a minute. One of the worst run blocking offensive lines in football opened a hole and he fell through it. Oh, on 4th down, Teron Johnson's getting dragged for a 1st down. It's like, you can't have what has become the traditional playoff Bills defense. And I don't know how you square that. I think that they're going to have to roll the dice in terms of some of the coverages that they have to play. I think that we're going to be forced. This is a game where you really would have liked to have Max Hairston because they're going to put multiple receivers on the field and they're going to stress you both vertically and horizontally on the field and force you to tackle. And it's one of the things that we do really poorly. We just do. So I don't know. I don't know how you square that. I don't. I just know that we have to fix it and we have to hope that these numbers are proof. Bobby Babbitt numbers here that he's like, we're peaking at the right time. You better be. I need another wild card performance out of our defense like what we got last year, where it gives the Bills offense some time to get humming, because I do not think that it's going to be simple to move the ball against this Jacksonville defense. That brings me to the second key. The offense has got to win on 1st down. I know that seems pedantic, but...
You saying bubble screens?
God, I'll shoot.
Jet sweeps.
Maybe this is where he's been waiting to unveil his masterpiece, and Joe Brady's going to call the Jackson Hawes jet sweep. He's just been keeping it up his pocket all year for this moment. Early in the year, I think we as Bills fans complained a ton about the fact that the Bills weren't passing enough on first down. And because teams were stacking the box against the run, we weren't having success, which then usually leads to a second down run and predictability from a play calling perspective. And then it was, oh, well, now he's throwing too much. You were like, oh, you're throwing too much. In fact, Chris, I think that's the way it went, right? Everyone's like, oh, why is he throwing? Just run the football. You have James Cook. Why aren't you running the football? And they started running the football, and everyone's like, well, now you're not passing enough on first down. No, the reality was you weren't winning that down on a regular basis. And because of that, it makes whatever you're going to do, like if you're second and long, you probably have to run the ball now, don't you? Because it helps you set up a more manageable third down. And that makes you predictable. That predictability hasn't gone anywhere. Just the other week, the Eagles and their defensive linemen were calling out our goal line plays pre-snap. And it's something we've heard after a number of our games. What was it? Who was it? D. Alford from the Falcons. It was one of their defensive backs who pointed out that everything they saw from the Buffalo Bills in their film study was exactly what we did. He said there's no variation. If you watch enough of their plays on tape, you'll know everything they're about to do before they do it. So what that tells me is that, like, you have to try, like, the results of that are pretty damning. And what that tells me is that your coordinator's not doing a good enough job disguising what his intention is. And the result, it speaks for itself. And this is a tweet from Eric Turner over at Cover One. He talked about how the Bills' average third down is 3rd and 6.5 or 6.2, which is third best in the entire NFL. Josh Allen has received almost half of his 40 sacks on third down. And the average yards to go when he gets sacked on third down is 9.2. And he put out a whole video about, Chris, this idea of throwing short of the sticks on third down and how the Buffalo Bills finished with leading the league in third. Like that is a drought era statistic. That's something you would expect to see from the drought era Buffalo Bills. The problem is, what does throwing short mean? Because if it's 3rd and 9, how many 12, 13, 14, 15-yard plays do you have dialed up on what is very obviously a passing down, where you say, hey, my guys don't separate well. I need to get them out in space. Well, usually then what you have to do is work like a layered concept so that somebody else trips the zone and gets somebody open. Well, then you can't leave anybody in to pass protect. And so you just have to hope that either your play works, somebody trips and falls down, or your quarterback creates magic. And this year, on those broken play scrambles, it's gone more negative than it has positive. You can't find yourself in that position against this defense in this game. You know, we talked a little bit about what they are, and I'm going to expand on that in a second, but they have to find success while running the ball on first down. Even when they know it's coming, you have to be able to do it. Doing that will open up play action, protect Josh Allen, and throughout the course of the game will open up some chunk plays for you down the field. You know, if Brandon Cooks could catch, we would have already landed a couple of those. And they're there, you just have to capitalize on it. But in order to get there, you still have to instill the fear of the run there. I mean, in terms of personnel, I don't know. I think the wide receiver room is, you're going to see what Cooks, Shavers, Palmer, Shakir, big game Gabe. I mean, that touchdown catch against the Jets last week is why you need him.
Yeah.
What I'd love to see is for them to find ways off play action to get Shakir the ball at the linebacker level instead of around the line of scrimmage. His open field running ability, that's what makes him dangerous, is when you can get him into that box where safeties and linebackers are already sort of committed to where they want to be or where they need to be, and he comes in with a head of steam and catches the ball in his room to run. It's where most of his highlight reel plays get made, and we just have not manufactured them at all this year. I think Dalton Kincaid can find some really explosive plays available to you if it's schemed properly. And you make an intentional effort to throw down the field in those areas. But in order to do that, you have to get the ball in the hands of the league's rushing leader. And I would argue you lean on the fact that their defensive line is good but not great. They're not the Houston Texans. I don't even know if they're as good as the Falcons are. I think that they're decent. And I think that their scoreboard pressure, again, you want to talk about statistics being able to be skewed to tell a story. I think that they are a team that has put scoreboard pressure on teams the way Buffalo used to and forced them to play a style of football that doesn't fit what they want to do. We can't fall into that trap. We have to stay the course. And in order to do that and really bring this whole thing home, we need postseason Josh. One of the biggest issues in games where we watch bad things happen to the Bills and the whole thing just feels like it's snowballing and gets away from you is that Josh Allen gets to the line of scrimmage and either can't diagnose the pressure that's about to be sent at him or doesn't adjust because he thinks he can get away with something. This is the game where, like, to me, you lose or win this football game on this dynamic. Ben Baldwin, Computer Cowboy on Twitter, he had a chart a few weeks ago that I couldn't find, but basically he broke down what teams rotate their safeties and nickel corners pre to post snap the most to the least. And it was really funny because Houston is all the way at the bottom. Basically, we line up and whatever you see is what you get. You just have to be talented enough to beat us. And they don't give a damn. If you know where their safeties are going to be, go ahead and try to beat us. And most teams can't. No trickeration, no smoke and mirrors. They trust their talent to beat you heads up off the snap, and they're right a lot of the time. The Bills are at the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Pre to post snap motion, walking the linebackers up into the A gap. Do off blitzes, or you can fake a blitz and drop out and cover. Those are staples of what Sean McDermott's defense have been here in Buffalo over the course of his coaching career. The Jaguars tend to lean a lot more that way, right? They don't blitz a ton. They're 20th in the NFL on overall blitzes, 17th in the NFL on third down. They throw a lot at you visually, like stacking the line of scrimmage, and then only rushing 4, and everyone bails out. But then they'll drop a safety down into a cover 3 or a robber spot so that they can blitz their nickel corner on a delayed blitz. That dynamic, combined with a cornerback and safety room that are all trained to watch the quarterback's eyes, knowing the confusion that's being caused up front, that's how they've been so dominant in forcing turnovers and negative passing plays all year. To beat them, when you have to go out there and throw the ball and they know you have to throw, it requires timing, good communication, and then also with the line of scrimmage and with your pass catchers, and the ability to keep them from just sussing out what your play is before you snap the ball. And these are all things that Buffalo has struggled with over the last month. This team's third down alignment is almost never what the actual defensive play ends up being. But they're also not invincible. You've just got to be able to read the field quickly and find an open target. For the Bills to win this, Josh has to show up and command the line of scrimmage. Film study like a mother so that he can at least get a read on what they're doing with their coverage rules and scenario-specific play calls. Work with Joe Brady to ensure that his reads and any adjustments he may have to make because of what he's seeing at the line of scrimmage are going to be there. And that the wide receivers understand what happens. Because I'll tell you what, Chris, what's fueled a lot of Jacksonville's turnovers is the idea that if they can cause a miscommunication between you and your wide receiver because you're going, based on what they're showing me right now, I wanted to go first read, second read. I'm already willing to bet my second read's not going to be available. So now this becomes my second read. Shit, he has to know that he's my second read, but also so you're trying to communicate here and all of a sudden the picture changes post snap. And now you're just scrambling, trying to fire the ball to somebody who maybe they should always be ready, but at the same time isn't ready. And the defense is just watching the quarterback's eyes. They're not doing anything exotic. They're just watching, saying, hey, we know this guy's going to take an extra beat and maybe make a poor choice. And they break on the ball. it's really fascinating to watch the video. Anthony Prohaska has been churning out video on this all day long today on Twitter. And I've been eating it up. They're fun. I wish we didn't have to play them. I think that he's going to have to be on the same page with everybody. And he's also this is going to have to be the game where instead of extending plays, hoping someone gets downfield separation, because that's dubious at best. He needs to either use his legs to get as many yards as possible and go down, or throw the ball away. Do you know, I think I saw Josh only has 13 true throwaways this season. 13 true throwaways this season is crazy. He's just been out there taking sacks and trying to make things happen, and it's not going well. Right? Like Joe Burrow said, one of the biggest superpowers as a quarterback is just knowing when to make the best out of a bad situation and get on to the next play. So if a quick sack, hey, my guy's not there, they jumped all of our routes and they brought pressure, go down, protect the football, live to fight another day. You could either do that, or you could end up with an almost safety and a 22-yard loss on a sack like we did versus Cleveland, which was hilarious. Take what they're willing to give you. And that's hard because you're talking to a guy who has proven over the last 7 years of his career he can run through, throw over, and basically churn his way through almost any opponent's defense. But that self-restraint's what it's going to take. I don't know. We've spent a month talking about the disconnect between Brady, Josh, the pass catchers. That doesn't have to continue being the trend that ends our season, but this defensive structure will be Josh's kryptonite if Brady and the rest of the guys around him let it happen. I am fascinated to see what version of the Buffalo Bills show up on Sunday. Chris, what do you think we got?
I mean, it's a clean slate. All you got to do is win 4 games in a row, and they're all on the road. And we haven't really won a road. I don't think Allen's won a road playoff game. But I think the main factor for Buffalo in this playoff run is going to be their playoff experience. Trevor Lawrence has playoff experience. Liam Cohen doesn't. Depending where do you go next, if it's Denver, they have 1 year. And we talked to David Talks Broncos last year. And him as a fan, he was like, we're just happy to be here. Like, we ended our playoff drought. We're happy to be here. Peyton's got the experience. Bo Nix doesn't. I think whatever path you go down for Buffalo leading to the Super Bowl, it's either the head coach doesn't have experience or the quarterback they're going against lacks experience. And this is where McDermott and Allen have to show out, is that they have playoff experience. They've been here before. They know what to do when the shit gets tough.
I mean,
although I don't trust McDermott in that spot.
Well, I'm telling you, it's Brady has playoff experience. Bobby Babich has playoff experience. Campanelli, though, also the defensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars, has experience. Like, it's there, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, we're here, guys. We made the damn show. Now it's what can you do with it? I'm fascinated again to see if they come out and they're composed, they'll win this game. I think it's that simple. If you maintain your composure on both sides of the football and you don't fall apart, you don't panic, you don't blink. And I think that this is a veteran roster full of veteran coaches and players. Can we keep them composed? Or are they Will Ferrell just slamming chairs off lockers in their tighty whities? We're going to find out next week, guys. I can't wait. But for now, we got to get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. This has been your Wild Card Preview.